Well, greetings everyone. This is Samuel C. at Graph1159 on X, and also now Blue Sky. My handle's at GRAPH1159. I'm continuing my video series on the Apostle Paul's first epistle to the Corinthians, and this video is on chapter 9. Am I not free? Am I not an apostle? Have I not seen Jesus our Lord? Are you not my work in the Lord? If to others I am not an apostle, nevertheless I surely am to you. For you are the seal of my apostleship in the Lord. My defense to those examining me is this: have we no right at all to eat and drink? Have we no right at all to be leading about a sister as a wife, even as the rest of the apostles and the brothers of the Lord and Cephas? Or have only I and Barnabas no right not to be working? Who is warring at any time, supplying his own rations? Who is planting a vineyard and not eating of its fruit? Or who is tending a flock and not eating of the milk of the flock? Not according to man am I speaking these things. Or is the law not also saying these things? For in the law of Moses it is written, you shall not muzzle the threshing ox. Not for oxen is the care of God. Or is he undoubtedly saying it because of us? Because of us, for it was written that the plower ought to be plowing in expectation, and the thresher to partake of his expectation. If in expectation we sow the spiritual in you, is it a great thing if we shall reap of your fleshly things? If others are partaking of this right from you, are not rather we? Nevertheless, we do not use this right, but we are foregoing all, lest we may be giving any hindrance to the evangel of Christ. Are you not aware that the workers at the sacred things are eating of the things of the sanctuary? Those settling beside the altar have their portion with the altar. Thus the Lord also prescribes that those who are announcing the evangel are to be living of the evangel. Yet I do not use any of these things. Now I do not write these things that it may be becoming thus with me, for it is my ideal rather to be dying than that anyone shall be making my boast void. So, Paul always had people scrutinizing him, trying to question his motives for preaching. And what Paul is saying here is that he is not asking to receive anything from the people he is ministering to. And so really there's no way that you could question his motives for his ministry, because he's not asking for anything in return. And ultimately then Paul goes on to say, verse 16, for if I should be bringing the evangel, it is not for me to boast in, for necessity is lying upon me. For it were woe to me if I should not be bringing the evangel. For if I am engaging in this voluntarily, I have wages. Yet if involuntarily, I have been entrusted with an administration. What then is my wage? That in bringing the evangel, I should be placing the evangel without expense, so as not to use up my authority in the evangel. So for Paul, the purpose of his life was to preach the evangel that Christ gave him. And if he were not doing this, he says, uh, woe is me if I should not be bringing the evangel. He would be uh, feeling lost in life, uh, depressed, um, because what animates him, what gives him life and energy, is heralding this message that God gave him. And for him, this is his only focus. He's not focused on uh, how his message appeals to the worldly or fleshly sensibilities of his audience. He's not focused on whether people appreciate it or not. He's just focused on the message and bringing this message because of the power that is in the message, the meaning to life that it gives. And then when Paul says, in bringing the evangel, I should be placing the evangel without expense, so as not to use up my authority in the evangel. So Paul does not want to be beholden to anybody. He doesn't want anybody to have any sway over him. He doesn't want the people in the um, ecclesia, as he found it, to have sway over him, because that would uh, compromise his sense of authority. His Ultimately, his authority comes from the fact that this ministry was given to him by Christ, and thus he wants to operate in that administration, and he doesn't want to be entangled with the expectations of other people. Verse 19, for being free of all, I enslave myself to all, that I should be gaining the more. And I became to the Jews as a Jew, that I should be gaining Jews. To those under law as under law, not being myself under law, that I should be gaining those under law. To those without law as without law, not being without God's law, but legally Christ's, that I should be gaining those without law. I became weak. I became as weak to the weak, that I should be gaining the weak. To all have I become all, that I should undoubtedly be saving some. Now all am I doing because of the evangel, that I may becoming a joint participant in it. So Paul is saying that even though he's not beholden to anybody, he chooses to, as he puts it, enslave myself to all. And the reason is that, as he was saying earlier, for him, the focus, what's important, is the evangel, this message that Christ gave him about what Christ did for mankind. And all of these customs, traditions, cultures that people in the various ecclesias had, Paul is saying, even though I don't have to participate in that, uh, I don't have to follow uh, their ordinances. I don't have to uh, assimilate with their culture. He's saying that he chooses to be as one of them simply because it's not a big deal in the grand scheme of things. When he's with the Jews, he con- conducted himself in a way that the Jews believed to be acceptable according to the law, even though he himself is not under the law, was not obligated to do that. He did it because ultimately, you know, playing along with their rules when he's with them, it's just not a big deal. It's not something uh, uh, asserting his right not to follow their rules and making a scene and making a spectacle by doing things that they would consider offensive. It's like, yeah, he has the right to do that, but is it really that important to make a scene and make that point? Because what ultimately matters is the evangel. And all these other details of lifestyle, it's just not worth making a big deal of them one way or the other. Verse 24. Are you not aware that those racing in a stadium are indeed all racing, yet one is obtaining the prize? Thus be racing that you may be grasping it. Now every contender is controlling himself in all things. They indeed, then, that they may be obtaining a corruptible wreath, yet we an incorruptible. Now then, thus am I racing, not as dubious, thus am I boxing, not as punching the air, but I am belaboring my body and leading it into slavery, lest somehow, when heralding to others, I myself may become disqualified. So, Paul says that he was leading his body into slavery so that he would not appear disqualified in heralding the evangel. In my own life, at this time, I am holding a lot in because I'm very conscious of the role that I have, the fact that I represent Christ and I represent the new creation. And so I'm holding back from expressing certain passions in the way that I personally wish I could, because, like Paul, I don't want to appear uh, undisciplined and thus disqualified. So I understand what Paul is saying here. Well, that concludes my discussion on 1 Corinthians 9. I look forward to seeing you next time when we look at chapter 10.